We should be good.
All righty, we'll call the meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. Roll call, please.
John,
Here.
Seth,
Here.
Crystal,
Here.
Todd,
Here.
and Steve.
Here. First period for public comment. Anybody online, Sarah?
There's one person online and they can unmute two people online if they want to unmute themselves to speak. Otherwise, you're good to go.
Okay. I just want to upfront apologize if I'm not myself tonight. I just got out of the hospital yesterday, so I'm a little foggy. So I apologize. Review and approval of the March 18th, 2025 meeting minutes.
And this is Crystal. I would move approval of the minutes from March 18th, 2025 with no additions or corrections.
Moved
Steve,
by
I'll second.
Crystal. Seconded by Steve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Operator license approvals.
Okay, this is the time of year where we're going to be getting a lot of the renewals in, but these are the ones that are kind of the stragglers for the current year. So I have 3 of them right now. Jill Tresvin is a renewal for the Wild West Days. So I don't have a date of when she took the class, but it is a renewal from the previous year. Naya Forcash for Aldi is a new one. Took the class January 21st of 25. And then I have McKendra Hansen for Tangled Hickory as a new one. And took the class on April 16th of this year. Was there any issues with any of these? So they're just looking for your approval to forward it on.
This is Seth. I make a motion that we approve the listed operator license.
Moved by Seth,
Steve, I'll second.
seconded by Steve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Review and approval of agent change for Quick Trip South.
Okay, I got a notice from Quick Trip South that as of April 18th, they're having a new manager by the name of Rudy Matayak that will take over the leadership responsibilities at the Quick Trip South location. I did send this in for the background check. This one also came back okay. He had taken a class April 6th, so I had the proper information and stuff. So he will be the agent for both alcohol and for their cigarettes and vaping and everything else. So just looking for your approval on that agent change effective April 18th.
This is Todd. I move to approve the agent change for Quick Trip South.
Moved by Todd,
This is Crystal. I'll second.
seconded by Crystal. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Review and approval of temporary Class B beer license for Fourth Stream for Live in Viroqua events, May through August 2025.
Okay, this is for the music on court. They have several dates throughout the summer. The first one being May 24th, then June 7th, June 21st, July 5th, July 19th, August 2nd, August 16th, and August 30th. They will be serving 5 to 9 p.m. on West Court Street in front of the Fortney. They will be having a specified beer tent on court and have their licensed bartenders. So this is similar to what they did in the previous years. And I don't know if there was any issues on that at all as well.
Well, visited event. I'm sure it should continue.
Okay,
This is Seth. I would make a motion that we approve the temporary Class B license for Fourth Stream Live from May through August of 2025.
Steve, I'll second.
moved by Seth, seconded by Steve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Review and approval of temporary Class B beer license for Viroqua Legion baseball events, June through July 2025 at Park Bowls concession stand.
Sorry, guys, there's a lot of A lot of alcohol this month.
This is Wisconsin.
So the Legion baseball time is gearing up here. So they have for their concession stand, they have June's 5th and 6th, June 11th and 12th, 14, 15, 19, 20 through the 22nd, 24th through the 26th, 28th through the 29th, and then July 3rd through the 14th, 17th through the 21st, and the 23rd through the 28th. Their hours are 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm not sure why they need alcohol at 8 a.m. in the morning, but it must be really good. But they do have a various on there. So this is out of their concession stand and normal to what they did with Legion Baseball last year. So just looking for approval if everything's okay on your end. So
This is Todd. I move approval of the temporary Class B beer license for Viroqua Legion Baseball for the events from June through July 2025 at the Park Bowl concession stand.
This is Seth. I'd second that motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Review and approval of temporary Class B beer license for Viroqua Chamber Beer Walk on May 31st, 2025.
okay, this is again, this is their annual beer walk on the 31st of May. The hours of operation are 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's going to be basically offered and consumed in their main entry and foyer rooms of each of the establishments, stored behind their serving table. And Aaron from the chamber did pare down. They did have quite a few listings, but they did pare it down to the following locations. So Hotel Fortney, Viroqua Public Market, Pacifico, Nelson's Ag Center, The Gray Duck, Lovely Boutique, Noble Rind, McIntosh Memorial Library, People's State Bank, Metaphysical Graffiti, Bad Axe Music, Driftless Books and Music, The Eagles, Tangled Hickory, WDRT, Driftless Vibe, Driftless Angler, Valley Stewardship Network, Viva Gallery, Cheese Corner, The Woolly Bear, Vinehost, Temple Theater, and the VFW. So this particular license only pertains to the ones that don't already have a license. So I gave you all of them that will be on the walk, but not everybody would be as part of this particular license. So I don't know if you have any concerns on any of those locations, but they will have to have an operator as well. So we might see some new ones coming in, but this event happens before the other ones expire at the end of June. So a lot of them already have them.
I have
So
a question. Do we allow walking beers? Thank you. Just want to check.
Okay. What are your desires?
Steve, I'll make the motion that we approve the temporary Class B beer licenses for the Viroqua Chamber Beer Walk on May 31st, 2025, with the ones that need it.
This is Crystal. I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Discussion with possible action on ordinance change request to allow ATV, UTVs on Main Street. This, I'm going to speak a little bit for the mayor. He's not here tonight. He's traveling. He's had requests and I've had requests that we review this policy again. So it's here for your discussion. Rick, do you have any thoughts on it?
Rick, would you mind, since I'm kind of new to it, it's right now, other than cross traffic, Main Street's not allowed?
Correct. The whole city limits. There's a little chunk on 56 down by Lewison and South Street, just because it turns to 55 miles an hour. But other than that, you're correct. It's just Main Street, but you can cross Main Street. To put a little light, yes, the chairman contacted me about it. Mayor just called me about 10 minutes ago as well, said he's had several citizens and businesses contact him in regards to the ordinance. He just advised them that go through the due process, has come before you guys, before it goes to city council. He was a little bit indifferent, but favoring more Main Street, allowing it to happen, but he was a little bit indifferent. Just wanted me to share that as well.
Okay, thanks, Rick. I know that we have a lot of neighboring communities that do allow it, I'm told. And so there it is. I'm not pushing one way or the other.
You
Uh,
definitely see it in Westby and Lafarge,
Yeah,
I think,
Cash
and
and-
Viola.
Have
But
they
their
had any
main streets aren't
issues?
nearly as busy as ours either.
Have they had any
Sparta,
issues in those
Toma.
communities with ATVs? And just curious.
0 citations. I looked it up. We've had probably maybe 15. I think there's about 17, but our record showed 15 because I think one was 2 times and it was all educational. Most of them were actually on Main Street. Most of our stops were just outsiders that were just driving down Main Street, so they pulled them over. But all educational, no citations. I think out of the most on Main Street, some of them were just with kids or somebody without a helmet, not driving, just they were with seat belted in, but just didn't have a helmet, so it was educational. This has been just a little more educational for you. I think this was what, 2 years ago we implemented it. I was extremely against it on Main Street, but that's when right when we were doing the twiddle. So we had 4 lanes and it was extremely unsafe. For the most part right now, just talking to a lot of the council members that have actually called or asked. I would say most of them were not expected, they thought there'd be a huge more flux with the ATVs. I don't think that, well, again, we haven't seen any major problems with it. With Main Street wider and having more of a passing lane and a shoulder, minus, bike lanes or anything in the future, but there would be safe for them to, they always have to be on the farthest part of the right side of the road. So I'm indifferent. We can always maybe change it later on if it does become a problematic, but with the road, I would kind of change my mind.
Is there any wisdom in doing it for like a year to make sure it's going to be okay before we go ahead with it forever?
I would say that we would always be available to review it and remit what we changed.
Yeah, you can always change it back, I guess I'd have to say.
And it probably can be done quicker than a year if we made the choice to allow and open it up and all of a sudden there's an influx of issues and sure, 1 month later we'd know about it and have to address it the other way. How many, is there like 10 signs up that would have to be changed or? I mean, how do you even go about notifying?
Yeah, there aren't very many.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. We'll take
Okay.
care of whatever's out there. But I don't know exactly the
I
number.
just use duct tape to start with, but.
Get the good stuff.
Get the good stuff.
Just off the signs that comes off of Public Works and I guess our orders, but those signs would actually be cheaper if we allowed Main Street because we had to put so much wording on the
Yeah.
old ones.
Yeah,
Your sign company actually has a generic one that we would actually use, so it'd actually be cheaper in the long run.
okay.
The only ones that have ever reached out to me is just the businesses. So pretty much from McDonald's to family restaurants.
They
There's
would
no way
like
to
to
get
see it.
gassers, culverts.
Right.
I mean, so that's the only ones I've ever heard is the ones that are hurting is more the businesses that have ever asked.
I was curious if there was any route to like gassers right now, and there probably isn't legally.
Thought there was the access through the backside of the fairgrounds.
You could cross over into,
Through
What
parking
that-
lots, then I suppose, yeah, if you could, yeah.
yeah.
I was told a while back that that was the reason why that was made available. It was for those businesses, so.
I find
Okay.
it really handy to, I've got mine sitting out here now, but I find it really handy to drive them in town. Just easier to park, find places to park. Just super handy to run around with.
So handy that you didn't need to use the main street to.
No,
drive
I could get by without it, but it
Okay.
would just be, nice to have it. Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes down to if chief is comfortable with that
Right.
and it's something that could benefit.
I think the majority
businesses
of
and
the people that
create issues.
you're seeing on Main Street are from out of town, like you said, and just don't know that it's not available to use right now, but it
I
would
think it
sure
was-
simplify things, I suppose, if, you know.
Not being involved in it, I definitely was happy to see that we got availability to it, and it was definitely the right choice with 4 lanes not to have it
Yeah.
an option, but.
There are a few spots here and there, you know, there's not a through street kind of by the hospital there, running east and west and since I can't use Main Street to go south of town where I go most of the time, I come out on, oh gosh, what street would that be? Where the city owns that little piece of property where Double N turns to the right. What's the street before that?
Willow?
Willow, yeah. I come up Willow, and to get to Double N, I'm not supposed to go out on the highway and around. So I would either go across the highway over into the parking lot to the new distillery and then back out the other one and across. So just there's a few little things that, you know, would make it a little nicer, but you know,
Is
It's not
Highway 56,
necessary.
once it's in town, currently legal to transfer? Okay.
Any further discussion?
Rick, have you talked to the attorneys at all about ordinance amendments at all on any of this? Okay.
The only thing I was with reading about it is this is just ATVs, UTVs, not golf carts. So we have 2 separate ordinances with this.
right. Yeah. Is there a motion that needs to be made to pass this on to council or?
Yeah, if that's what we want to do, we don't have to do anything, but if we want to do something, that's the way to do it.
I would say you'd have to bring in the attorneys as well because they're going to have to draft the update to the ordinance to take to council. So there's that piece that has to happen. So if you have a particular part of the ordinance, which I don't have in here with us, that you wanted to be redrafted, that's kind of what you have to direct
Oh,
the attorneys to do
sure.
versus just
Yes.
allowing them on Main Street. You need to tell them what
Yeah.
you need changed in the ordinance.
Right, yeah.
What about the areas on 14 where it's 4 lanes that is still in town? So are you concerned at all about north of Walmart or south of town, basically? If there's UTV, ATV traffic, as well as semis and tractors, pickups, cars, are you concerned about that at all?
Correct answer, I guess, is absolutely. I'm very still concerned about it. That does not have a huge shoulder for ATVs, but you have to, again, I'm very indifferent with this. So just kind of try to give you guys the facts with it, but you have to have some responsibility with the ATV drivers as well. So yeah, I mean, there is a passing lane that they could go around, but
What are they both like a block long
uh,
from
Helps that
Walmart
it's
up to
35 now up through
from
there.
Walmart to B is
Yeah, I was just, is
a
it,
couple blocks.
there's like, we have 2 different things. We have our corporate limits and then we have our connecting highway limits. Is it our connecting highway limit? So that would be basically like the hotel on the north end of town and Rusk on the south end of town. We wouldn't be able to permit like the city south of there unless the DOT chose to or whoever's.
So what does that mean then? If we're not permitting it,
Well, it means like, I can show a map, but it means like we would only be able to make choices about it.
right?
In our
but
connecting highway
So, but
limits, which
then
means.
What I'm asking is it permitted
Oh, I,
past those points?
that's,
not right now, but you can ask the DOT for it, but right now, no.
Okay, but so doesn't that offer another point of confusion for people? That's I'm
Yep.
just trying to make it so, because it's not as easy as just say, oh yeah, you can use Main Street, because people, I guarantee you're gonna see someone try to go to Westby.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's just, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Anybody?
So the proper motion, if this is an interest, would be to make a motion to ask the city attorneys to draft an amendment to our city policy and ordinance on ATV, UTV use of Main Street to allow it. And I guess I kind of by asking the question, made the motion to that.
Is that your motion?
Yeah.
Todd, I second it.
Motion and moved in second.
Okay, now I have a question. Do you want that brought back to this committee for approval? Or are you asking them to take it directly to council? Because you guys should actually look at the ordinance changes prior to it going to council. And if you're just blankly letting them make changes,
Okay.
I'm recommending, I'm not, that's my
No,
recommendation to bring it here
relearning.
first. Since you guys haven't had a chance to even look at the ordinance and what
Makes
changes
sense.
need to be made.
Okay, I amend my motion that the attorneys would draft the policy and ordinance for Main Street usage and that we, as public safety, would be able to review that amended ordinance.
And I'll second it.
All right with you, Todd? Okay.
Now, can that be worded somehow then to eliminate the 4-lane portions of Main Street, or isn't that even in our jurisdiction to control? Like up by Walmart, I mean, that's still city
The 4 lanes
limits.
are still,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
city limits and yeah,
but you can limit whatever you want, yeah.
right.
It's just signage wouldn't
Yeah.
be my.
And did I understand ATVs, but not UTVs? Or was it both?
No, golf carts.
Golf carts.
On the agenda, it's both.
Okay,
Golf carts is not on it.
okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Unless we could limit it to nothing north of County B. Or is that reasonable? And south of a certain area?
It has to
Yeah.
be Rusk on
Yeah,
South.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Rusk. Yep. That's more of what we would have control of, I think.
Are you talking about changing the motion? It's Seth's motion,
No,
so. that's why
No,
we're-
I took it that was what our.
I mean, it's something maybe the attorney can,
Yes.
I mean, that is what our jurisdiction is over, so I don't know that it needs to be worded that it.
yeah, that's true. I
Doesn't
mean, that's
go
what,
outside of
yeah,
that.
that's what it was gonna be anyway. Right, okay, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
So you two are both no's. Okay.
Okay, update on fire department building project.
So apologize for the ones that went to the fire station tour last week. About 15 minutes before I was supposed to go out there, we ended up getting called out. So I didn't make it, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to come out there, and hopefully Randy, the Keller rep, was good to explain things as best he could. And sounds like John maybe did a little bit of work on that too. But there's some of you that didn't make it. Obviously, two, I think you three were there. You two didn't make it. We'll do another one in probably 2-3 weeks, give or take. They'll have more concrete done and inside, and we'll try and do a follow-up one for anybody, obviously, that wants to come out there for a second time or a first time. Rain has messed us up again on the outside site work and things like that. So that's putting a damper on the outside work, but the interior is moving right along. And they're getting a lot of the sheetrock up in the admin side. And I'd say maybe probably middle of next week they might be done with the sheetrock. And then I'll go from there, obviously. So it's moving forward. No big hiccups lately. So that's a good thing. Any questions, I guess? There's not a lot more for, especially for the ones that saw it. There's not really much more I can add to it, but they're still telling me beginning of August, 1st August. Again, I don't believe them, but they're trying, really pushing hard to try and get that done. So, but yeah, it's turning out great.
Did they get some cement poured inside?
Oh yeah, yep, yep.
In the
So,
main.
well, so they got the edges poured. I think those were done when you guys
Yeah,
were there.
they
So,
started putting troughs in.
Yep.
Far end there, I think
Yep.
they were.
yep. So they poured the mezzanine, the
Yeah.
east mezzanine, so towards the training tower. That's poured and finished now. And then there's a runway down the center of it. That's been poured. That was poured today. They're hoping by the end of the week, maybe by Monday, Tuesday, they'll be done with the south bays completely with concrete. And then they'll start working on the north bays. There's a little bit of a holdup on some of the bays because the trench drains, it's a terrible setup, but the one that actually goes into the drain, you're supposed to bust out the hole to hook to the pipe. And that hasn't been going well for them, and they keep breaking them.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so three of them so far. I think the rest of them are cut out or whatever, broke. They got them good, but so there's three. We're short 3 trench drains ends. So they're working on trying to get new ones. You'd think you'd be able to just call and order them, but apparently that's not the case. So it's little things like that just really throw wrenches in progress and timing, and they're good at switching gears and moving to something else or whatever. But if you don't have a floor in, you can't run high lift things or whatever to hang pipe and wire and whatever. So we'll see what happens. But overall, it's going probably as good as it can. So, but yeah, a lot of work to do outside. A lot of that work was supposed to be done by fall. And of course, we had quite a bit of rain at the end there, and then winter came and we had some issues that way. And you get a good week of weather and things start drying up, and then it decides to rain some more. And it's got to be good and dry and solid for them to really start molding all that and prepping it for more gravel and blacktop. So it is what it is. It'll get there, but we as much as we need rain, it's funny. Someone asked the other day, well, it's good we're going to get rain. You aren't going to have brush fires. I'm like, kind of rather have brush fires and
Build a dome
Yeah,
over the.
yeah. I need it dry for the fire station, but I need it wet so we don't get brush fires. But anyway, so it's all good. It's I would say it's kind of ramped up. I'm probably more active in being over there and involved and answering questions and making sure it's what I expect the city to get. And but I would say I'm probably there a minimum of 8 hours plus a week at this point. Stopping at least once a day. A lot of times they're calling me to come and talk to them about a question. Could be something as simple as this outlet should be moved, or little things like that, to our bigger meeting on Thursday to go through everything. And so, but I feel it's worth it putting in the time now, because it's a lot of money. It's the people's money, and we need it perfect, in my opinion. So, yeah, a little extra time. So unless anybody's got any questions on that, that's all I've got to say about the station. Okay.
Okay. Police and fire department updates.
John Gory, I'm going to continue. All right. It seems like I remember talking to you guys about this, but I didn't have it written down in my notes. So if I did, tell me to stop. But did I tell you about the grant we received for EMS through the state? So originally, I think it was a $10,000 grant. And, but if you put in some extra effort and were able to prove your population, it wasn't a big deal, but you had to get the documentation and have the clerks sign to, prove or whatever. You remember doing that? You did sign it. You did sign it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's.
So- It's a good thing, though. It's a good thing. Yeah. I wish. But at the time, I didn't know what value was to it or whatever. I thought, well, let's do it or whatever. So it ended up going from 10,000 to 34,000.
That's
Yeah.
my signature.
Yeah. Well, not just yours. The towns get a little thank you for that too. But yeah, so collectively that was well worth running around and getting signatures and filling out the paperwork. So, yeah. So with that money, it's got to be spent on medical related things, mainly equipment. You could spend a little bit of it on disposables, so Band-Aids and, things like that, disposables. Some of the money I do intend on, I'm considering spending some of it on, ballistic vests. And that sounds weird. There's things in this job, there's many things that I never thought I'd have to worry about. One was medical, 2 was building a fire station, and 3 is worrying about getting shot at and having to buy ballistic vests for our members. But here we are. So they're fairly expensive. We're looking at getting 6 of them, and they're adjustable. They're not like what the PD wears, although that will have the rating of them if we want to, mainly for active threats, active shooter type threats. And they're adjustable so that anybody can put it on size wise. And we figure we'll carry one in each command vehicle because they're the ones that are getting there first and potentially be head on to a possible threat. And then the other ones will be carried in our medical vehicle so that if we need to ramp up or whatever, generally we'll probably know if we're getting into something because PD will be involved or know ahead of time, but that's not always the case. It's interesting. You show up and you think it's something simple and, medical calls or anything. Yep. So I figure it's time. It's actually an NFPA rule now that they wrote into play. I don't remember the number, but it is a requirement that we provide that type of protection, vest only. We are going to get helmets too for, again, the larger concern issues. A lot of departments in the county, and I'll speak for just the county, obviously around the country, but a lot of departments in the county have some type of capability. I've kind of put it off, 1 for the cost and 2 for, it's just like, really, are we dealing with this? So, but anyways, I thought I'd let you know that this grant can be used for that. So, since we did get a bigger chunk of money to utilize, I figured that might be a good place to use it. So we'll look at some other things too, possibly another vitals monitor and some other things like that too. So, but anyways, so if you have any questions on that one, I guess it's a pretty good deal. We got to spend it before we get paid back, of course. Typical deal, but
That was a state grant, not federal.
I think it came down from federal to state. I know. That's always the
Okay.
question, concern in some of this. I have not heard anything about it. I have heard that these grants are probably done moving forward, but I've not heard, if anything pullback or anything like that's been happening. So I've had the grant for probably, got notification that we received the grant probably 6 weeks now. I've been kind of dragging my feet and, whatever, but I don't remember when I have to have it spent. So I'll check on that too and maybe wait a little bit yet. But there is a deadline to where we have to spend it and, process the paperwork. So I'll play that a little bit too, to our benefit. But, yeah, I've had that thought more than once. So, but anyway, so I think it's a good thing. So we'll work through that. Sorry, a fire department structure. Steve, I think you brought that up at one of the meetings about number of firefighters, and now we're doing medical and making sure we have room and things like that. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that I've started looking at it because we are starting to get to a point where that might start causing some issues. And what I mean by that, so I'll step back a little bit. So I reread the ordinance and I'd forgotten that we'd actually changed the ordinance probably, this says 2016. And we'd adjusted it mainly due to our officer structure and given us some flexibility on how many lieutenants versus captains versus, some of you might remember this. I don't, John probably would for sure. But in there, it says a minimum of 24 firefighters. I think it used to say a maximum of 40, and I don't remember why we did that exactly.
Yeah, the one I read said maximum of 40.
Right. So unless I'm looking at the wrong one, but I feel like the 2016 revised has got to be the one because that would have been right around the time that I took over for Steve. So, yes, I think you're looking at the old one, and I was thinking the old one when I had that concern. So I wanted to bring it to your attention because I am thinking about making a change, and I think the change should at least address the medical side of things so that we can, maximums are never necessarily a good thing in this, but at the same time, I want to have something in writing so that we stay inside a box, right? And as long as it's me, obviously it's my box and I know where we're going to be. But I'd like to kind of put something together and then bring it by you guys to see what you think. And it would be like a certain number of medical only, let's say, a certain number of, maybe we don't put a max on the whole or on the fire side. I don't know, but I want to kind of work with that and I'll talk to George and do some dabbling in it. But I wanted to at least, you'd mentioned it. I'd kind of talked about it. And I think it's time to probably review that and plan for the future. So.
Yeah, just as long as it gets handled before we need
Correct.
more than we
Correct.
can legally have or whatever.
Correct. And and it appears that we're okay because it says minimum of 24. But I still would like to put some parameters in there, because we do have, is it 5? We've got 5 juniors right now. I'd assume probably 2 or 3 of them will move on and go to college, or, I know of a couple for sure that are moving on, but we'll get probably 2 that'll stick around. We've gotten a few more applications recently again. And so I would love to have 60, 70 firefighters, right? And be able to spread them out and take the pressure off of some and not have burnout. And we're starting to experience a little bit of that, I believe. But there's a cost that comes with that too, right? You got to outfit every single one of them. And we were just talking the other day how much it costs to outfit a new firefighter, it's thousands of dollars, right? And so we have to kind of stay in a window. Medical is not so bad. You give them a $50 vest and, some supplies or whatever. That's pretty easy, but you have training dollars that go into it. You have response, so I think it's important that we do something. So again, more just for your information and know that what I'm working on and what I'll be bringing to you. So if you have any thoughts for me or whatever, please reach out and, give me your guidance or whatever on what you'd like to see. So.
I think if my memory serves me right, my memory's not very good anymore, is that we went to a minimum of 24, so we didn't have to come back as we grew.
Right. And that would
think.
make sense. That would make sense. And maybe we keep it at a minimum, but I'd still like your input on where the city's going, how we're growing. I mean, there's some big tangible things to talk about.
Right. Well, that still predates the medical side.
Correct.
But I guess where I read that was on our website, old website. So it's probably an old ordinance on the old website. Hopefully it will change to new ordinance.
We're
on new
working
website.
on trying to go through each one of them
Yeah.
since codification hasn't happened. So
That's
Yes.
another story or another conversation. But yes,
I was just filling you in of where it
Nope.
wasn't like I was in the library, I was on our website. So wasn't digging through anything too.
we have that conversation about once a month with the department heads as far as how important it is to do something, because it is confusing for not only the public, but the department heads have talked too, how it makes our job a little more complicated and whatever. But so, yes. Yep. So, live burn structure. So do you guys remember, I think everybody but Seth probably was around when we were designing the fire station and we were talking about trying to integrate maybe a live burn structure at some point. In the bid, or in the specs, it does include concrete for a structure. And we've been kind of going back and forth. And so I wanted to update you on that. We did get a price. So the firefighters want to pay for it. That's the intent. With fundraiser money, we've been telling the people that have been making donations that that's our next project that we'd like to do. We don't have a lot of options for live burn. Oh, go ahead.
So is this like the base for where the structure actually sits on?
That's in the bid. Yep. The concrete
Okay.
pad. Yep. Nope. Fair enough. Good question. Yep. We used to burn structures, get houses. donated to us, and we burn them down, but it's getting more complicated to do that if, again, some of this I'm probably regurgitating, but mainly for you, Seth, probably. So between DNR rules and permitting and just finding them in general, it's getting more complicated. So we ended up buying a burn trailer with a bunch of other departments in the county. And that's nearing not end of life, but nearing the point where there's a bunch of money that's got to be put into it to bring it back to life, let's say, or extend the life of it. And the firefighters had decided we're not going to spend any more money on it. We want to do our own thing. And so we actually had Keller design something for us, and it was going to be made out of concrete and, different things like that. And we got an estimate in the beginning, and now we've got the price, and it's way higher than what the firefighters can and are willing to spend. So it ended up coming in about 120 grand, which isn't terrible, other than it's a lot of money, but it's not terrible considering if we buy from a professional company that does this for a living, it's probably anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000. And so we backed off on that concept, and we've come to the conclusion and got a price on using containers, just like our current structure is built out of. And we can do that for about 60 grand. 6 rooms in it, hallway. Burning it will be hard on it, but that's okay. And again, just
so that I can
Yep,
have
go
a
ahead.
little bit of the
Yep.
background. If you would have pursued that $120,000 structure, would that funding come just from the Viroqua department? Or do you involve the area?
No,
I
no,
was
good
just
question.
looking or thinking of it so once you have that built, do you charge other departments to come use it? Or
Right.
I didn't know if it was a
So the good question.
completely open use thing.
Yep. So there's all kinds of options that you could do. You could try and get buy-in from other departments and help fund it to build it, right? That isn't going to happen because most of the departments that own the trailer right now aren't even willing to put in a couple $1,000s to keep it going. So that's out. But as far as having other departments come and use it and maybe pay a fee to use it, you could. I don't foresee them doing that. But you could. If we invite them in to train with us, then we wouldn't want to charge them, right? Western Technical College, we actually talked to them too, because they do use it for when they're training here. You've heard me talk about doing local training at our facility and whatever, but they've got a $500,000 plus. Does that sound right? It's over $500,000, I think. Yeah. Structure in Angelo up by Sparta that they use. And so why would they invest in ours, or, it doesn't make sense to them. So we've
Sorry,
pursued,
sorry.
no, it's good questions and good things to review. And so we've looked at some of that stuff, and we want to do it for ourselves. And sure, if we bring in some partners, say Westby comes down to train with us, but our intention isn't to rent it out to Westby Fire to come and train in it alone. Say, hey, for $500 or whatever, you can come. That's not in the cards.
Again, this is kind of, I don't know, uninformed of me. How is it different than what we moved over there?
Good question. Good question. So when we designed the training tower, we originally had intended on having a few rooms in there burn capable, and we absolutely could. The reason why we backed off on that is it's multiple stories, so you have some structural concerns of integrity over time. But more so, we use that for training kids. We've got a room in there that has, for teaching kids how to stay low and smoke and, all that other stuff. The police officers at times have used it. It's been a while since they've been in there, but they've been in there and used it. So we've got a carcinogen hazardous environment once you burn in it.
Sure.
And so that would take all of those things away from the abilities of that structure. That make sense?
Makes plenty of
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
If I get around to visiting,
No,
like,
absolutely.
my tour, I would have understood that
No.
tower,
Yep.
you don't burn that, you just smoke that.
Yep. Yeah. So we do like 95% of everything else we do. 95% of everything else we do, we can do in that current structure. We're missing that live burn
What's the life expectancy of the one you're
Uh,
thinking about putting in?
oh, the one we're putting
Rough- What,
It
rough, I
depends
mean,
on
I
the
know,
hard-
right, I know.
It's hard to
Pretty-
say.
yeah.
The benefit to it, because I've watched quite a few videos. I've talked to a few departments that use them for similar things. Like, I won't get into the weeds with it, but they burn in them.
Mhm.
And some of them look pretty rough, but they still function because it's basically a confined space is all it is, right? It's to hold the heat and smoke in or whatever. And so they get warped and the paint peels and it starts turning, rusty and black and whatever. And I would suspect if we use it the way we should use it, I don't honestly see why it shouldn't last for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
I really don't. But it's a guess, so don't,
Yeah,
in 10 years, don't yell, no, but
that's kind of what
so-
I had in mind.
and the thing is that with it's steel, and
Mhm.
so maybe you have to weld a plate on it. Maybe you have to, the floor is wood. This is funny. It could be a joint that's bad. The floor is wood, and so the intent would be to put down some fire brick or whatever in the area that you're burning. If you burn out the floor, you buy a new sheet of treated 1-inch plywood and you throw it down, right? So it's the concrete structure is a different story. If you overheat that, you've got some structural issues, you've got some major repairs, you've got, I don't think it's annual. It's like every so many years you have to have it bore tested. So they take a bore sample and send it in for integrity of the concrete. And that sounds like a lot of work and expense that we don't really need. So we thought this is affordable. Did I say 60,000? So it's something that kind of fits in our budget of what we were thinking. It's something that we can handle on our own. We'd actually thought about, well, if we go bigger, do we come to council and see if they can help? And I just think this is still the better way to go. It's 60 grand's a lot of money, but all those other options I was telling you or whatever, it's like it's over 40,000 to fix the trailer. And we're still, sharing it, and it's still, not always here. It's only 2 small rooms, this will have 6 rooms. I mean, so you kind of think of you weigh it or whatever, and we get 10, 15 years out of it. It's probably well worth the money. So, but yep. So unless you guys have any questions on that one, that's our plan. It was in the spec. There's a spot for it, things like that. The money for the concrete foundation is there. And then we'd flip the cost for building and putting it there. So Michael Perry's coming to the Rivers to Ridges or other, okay. He's going to be at the Temple Theater on Saturday at 7:00. He's a well-known author, volunteer firefighter up in, I don't remember, somewhere up north in Wisconsin, right? Yeah. No, thank you. He's offered to speak about Viroqua Fire during his presentation. He's going to do some PR work for us, specifically to Viroqua Fire, and he's going to work on talking about recruitment and the importance of volunteering as little or as much as you can. Sounds pretty cool. And he's going to put out a public service announcement and talk about people pulling over and slowing down for emergency services and, kind of add our own little piece to his presentation, which I thought was pretty awesome. They've offered up, or they've okayed us, we're going to send 3 or 4 firefighters and EMRs there to sit in the front entrance. And they'll have a table set up and kind of be there to talk to people, be it fire safety or just be there to show support. And then hopefully maybe have some good conversations with some individuals about what it's like to be a local firefighter and medical person. So that's all transpired this last week, and I think it's awesome.
It's this Saturday.
Yep. Yeah, this Saturday, right? Yep. So if you can go to the show in general, everybody that's ever went and saw him, it's, I guess, yeah.
Don't think the long beds are with him this time, though. I think it's a solo show.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So, but thought it was pretty cool that he was willing to do that specifically for Viroqua. So, weather sirens. So we had a weather siren not working in the trailer park off of B. We learned that when we did our testing. That's why we do our testing. They came today to do the service work. And what he found is it's kind of hard to make a weather siren work without power. So the meter had been shut off in October. I'm not sure why or how yet. Yeah.
Yeah, we voted that in.
You voted that in? Well, you get a bill with this too. So the siren itself actually runs off batteries because it has such a draw. So there's 4 car batteries in it, and that's actually what does the true function of it. It's also the battery backup. Obviously, if you lose power, it still can function, but it needs batteries to work. Well, since we haven't had power since October, it destroyed the batteries. So I had to put 4 new batteries in it for the low price of about $600. But on top of that, I'd really like to know why we didn't have power. So we're working through that. We got power to it temporarily. And they were able to repair it, and it's working. But I just wanted to bring that up so you're aware. You might have heard there's been some talk of the siren's not working and broke or whatever, the one. The other 2 passed with flying colors. So I'm not sure. I've been making some phone calls and talking to city and staff to just see if they know what happened. We'll find out.
It was like disconnected, or
The meter,
something happened environmentally that
No,
there wasn't.
no. So it's one of the meters. A lot of the meters now they can turn on and off remotely,
Sure.
and it's one of those. So it was turned off by Excel. Again, I'll work through the details. I'm not overly happy about this, but with that, the company that works on the siren said you have 2 options so that you know the next time that happens, or if it happens. Could be loss of power just in general, right? Could be your batteries are getting low and, things like that. So you can actually buy a service from them and it, right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not proposing that by any means. I'm not proposing that, but that is one option that we could do. And then I would get an alert on my phone saying, hey, the power's out on this one. Hey, it's low on battery. So we don't go from October to April not having any protection out there. I didn't even ask price. Again, I'm just informing you of options. The other option that was mentioned, it was actually by the Excel guy. He said, get a hold of Excel and get your name and phone number on there so that anytime it's turned off, it's an automatic notification on my phone. So I would get a call or a text, or I don't know how it works, but at least then if that would be only on if the power went off, right? That wouldn't be the batteries are getting low or things like that. But at least in this situation, I'd have known in October that we didn't have power to the weather siren. So, yeah. Go ahead.
You would think with today's technology that these sirens or those batteries themselves would have an easy enough transmittable, all right, our power's low, that could send you that notification without paying for a service, but.
Well, yeah, so I don't know. It sounded like it's an app.
Okay.
It sounded like it's something that gets installed in each one. So we've got 3 of them, and then it would transmit something. I didn't ask cost.
Redneck in me thinks there's some.
Right.
O'Reilly sells something. that can-
Right. Well, fair enough. Could. Yeah, fair enough. You can get those for your freezer, right?
Right.
Your freezer's off or your temperature's low. So I'll do some more checking, but I thought it was important, again, with you guys being public safety, that those things happen. But it is up and running, and we'll try and get to the bottom of why we didn't have power since October. So last thing I'll talk about really quick is I was going to talk more on call numbers, but I'll bring more to later. But the important piece is in 2025, not including mutual aid calls where we go and help another department. We've already had 10 structure fires this year. And last year, during the 12 months, we had 12. So we're not even through the 4th month, the first try, of the year, and we're almost a full year of last year. So it's been busy. A lot of them have been really simple ones, knock on wood, like really simple ones. We still consider them structure fires. some people think structure fire, flames and smoke shooting out everywhere or whatever, and that's not the case. We've had our fair share of those too. But yeah, that's a new one this year, Wyatt. It's just been crazy. We are running more fire related calls than we are medical calls this year. I watched that percentage or whatever, and that's kind of changed. So it's about 45% fire and 55% medical. I think last year turned off again. Last year was more like 60-40-ish, I think, give or take. So it's a roller coaster, but whatever. We are ahead of schedule, not only on structure fires, but overall call volume. We're probably to date. So last year we did 200 calls through April. And right now we're at 214, I think, and we've got 8 days left or 9 days or whatever. So we're still slowly moving up. It's slowed down from a couple years ago. And it's kind of leveling out, but it's still slowly creeping. So we're veering towards that 700 number per year, which we feel it. So, but aside from that, I'll stop unless anybody's got any questions, and I'll plan for more detail next month, best I can. So,
Thanks. Appreciate it.
yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Rick. What am I gonna do? I don't have much. I gave a pretty good detailed update last or 2 weeks ago. The only updates I would have would be just the couple outings that we're doing. May 3rd, I mentioned before, which is right around the corner, is the bike rodeo for all the kids and littles at the schools, or actually anybody. May 3rd from 10 to 1 at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. And then May 17th is our canine outing. So if you guys, even if you don't golf, I can't believe actually some of the donations we have. So come on and do at least the silent auction and Chinese auction. That will help with the canine vet bills and everything else with canine related. So May 3rd, May 17th. May 17th is technically we'll be there at 9, but golfing is at 10. I think. Pretty sure that's what it was. Both of them are Saturdays. Yep, 2 weeks apart for each one. Other than police side of it is just with some of our younger officers. Most of them are, we probably have maybe have noticed, skeleton crew, because most of them are going through trainings right now, just to get them updated from, you know, all the trainings that I have to legally give them. So a lot of them are local. Some of them are just doing it through Zoom at the PD, but some of them are being going to Madison or the Dells or somewhere kind of still in Wisconsin, of course, but a lot of trainings that are kind of up and running come the warmer weather. So, which is kind of being a scheduling nightmare, but we're making it through. Other than that, I'm just here for questions. That's all I have. Anybody? Okay, no
Appreciate it.
questions. I would just actually, you brought up your grant. Is there any way we can use like AEDs throughout the city for some of the less fortunate businesses, or even, because I even have 2 that I would love to interchange, but is there some like churches? Can we use them for some different businesses or?
I haven't been audited for something like this before, but usually you got to have them on your medical vehicles. Same thing with like a DNR grant or whatever. When they come and check, they want to see that portable or that AED we've got on a DNR grant. It's got to be in a brush truck, wildland truck or whatever. So I can check, but I have a feeling that that'll be the same
Depends on
situation.
the audits. You're 100% like our 1033. I get audited those all the time for private use, but if it's still city owned, yeah, maybe something with the city or the utilities. I think you guys all have them, but I think you have cardiac sciences for the most part. You have some Zolls, but I mean, if you can, I mean, our cardiac sciences are getting old, as you know, so.
Right. And that's what we're still currently working on too, is trying to replace. We've still got a fair amount to get rid of, but I can ask Rick for sure. And like I said, I've never been through an audit with medical side yet or whatever, but I do know all the other ones for on the fire side. They do come and audit us, and they want to see it on the truck, and you know, and so let me work on it. Let me look at it. Yep.
Okay, Second period for public comment. Richard?
There's one person online, but I don't think they have any comment.
Okay. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
This is Steve. I make a motion, we adjourn.
It's Crystal, I second.
Moved and second, we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
You got